Hello, welcome back to Talking Europe on France 24. Today we're talking about one of the most special and life-changing moments anyone can experience, becoming a parent. Now, here in France, dads just got some big news. The amount of paternity leave they're entitled to just doubled, meaning proud papas now have the right to 28 days paid leave. What's more, one of those weeks off will be mandatory under the new legislation that just came into effect in June of this year. And it all applies to the second parent in same-sex couples as well, whether they happen to be male or female. Now, this means that France now has one of the most generous paternity leave policies in Europe, and it inspired us on Talking Europe to take a look into the situation around the continent. So here to discuss some of the key issues are Ville Niinisto, who, as a member of the Finnish Parliament, was the first politician in his country to take a lengthy paternity leave. He's now a member of the European Parliament with the Greens and joins us from Brussels. And we have also from the centre-right European People's Party, Lukas Mandl, an MEP from Austria, where the Chancellor, Sebastian Kurz, just announced he is going to become a dad in December, and where paternity leave is a little bit newer. It was only voted in 2019 and offers new dads 1 month of unpaid leave. So hello, thanks very much, both of you, for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Good day from Brussels.
Well, let's get started. Ville Niinisto, I mentioned that you've got this distinction of being the first elected member of the Finnish Parliament to take a lengthy paternity leave. Why was that important to you?
Well, in 2007, when my daughter was born, I thought it was important to show as a father also an example for other fathers that it's in all jobs you can take the parental leave. So I was actually 5 months on a parental leave while I was an MP. Some had done the short 3 weeks parental leave, which is in the beginning of the parenthood when you are together with the mother at home. But for me, it was important that I'm solely in charge of everyday affairs with my child, and that has carried my relationship with my now teenage daughter to being very deep and very profound by being there present for her when she was a small child.
Lukas Mandl, you also have experience of paternity leave.
Actually, yes, I was already an elected official when I became father and father of 3 children. And in former times, it was not that easy for elected officials to leave to join the child. Today, it's easier. And this is a good example for all society that we cover both for parents, the work obligations, as well as the parents' obligations, which are so important, especially for the children in our structures, and this means a children-friendly, a family-friendly society.
Now, Lukas Mandl, just staying with you, I mentioned that paternity leave is somewhat newer in Austria. It was voted in 2019. It was a policy that was initially pushed and initiated by the socialists, by the far left. You sit on the centre-right of Parliament. Was there resistance from your side of the political divide?
It's actually a so-called Father's Month in a daily language in our country, and that's something we ran for, but the question was who will pay for it. This question is answered, is solved now, and now it's important that many fathers really take advantage of this opportunity to have Father's Month because it's good for children, mothers, of course, as well, and for fathers, the whole family situation. Actually, of course, always in public life, it's the question who pays for something, but it's worth it. That's it. It's a paid Father's Month, and that's also a good example I try to spread all over Europe.
Ville Niinisto, coming back to you, you're from a country that's seen very much around Europe and around the world as being very egalitarian between men and women. The French President Emmanuel Macron has talked about paternity leave as actually being something that benefits not just fathers, but also women. And one of the ideas behind the EU's paternity law was to keep women in the labour market. Is that something that you see happening as a result of paternity leave existing, being somewhat generous as well in your country?
I think the idea is pretty much that when both parents have a chance and they get the support and also their own quota for being in maternity or paternity leave with their child, that makes it automatic from the start that both parents have an everyday role to fill in the child's life, and it's easier for both to get back to the labor market after the parental leave is over. So in Finland, the current new system that has been introduced recently is such that both parents have 3 months of their own leave, and then there is a 6-month period which you can share as you like. And this has increased the use of parental leave by fathers, and it has also created a positive incentive for labor market to realize that you can't even indirectly discriminate women, that both can take paternity or maternity leave and both have a right to come back to the labor market, and that is being supported. So I think the labor market is very much involved in this as well. Many employers want to emphasize that they want to support this development.
Yes, Lucas Mandel, you mentioned that there was an argument or divide about who will pay for the paternity leave. Here in France, just as an example, most of the cost will be borne by the social security system, costing about 500 million euros each year. And employers asked to cover just 3 days of leave. That is a large amount of money. Is that a worthy use of public funds, or should employers actually be paying a bit more?
It's maybe one of the best usages you can have with public money, with taxpayers' money, because it's clearly for the common good that families have good conditions, especially when a new child is born. And that's why I totally agree with paying for that with public money, and for better conditions for families, for parents, especially for children. And as you have mentioned, the labor market, families need time in the first place. Children need time with both the parents in the best case, and that's the priority. But of course, families also need the opportunity to earn money, and that's why the connection with the labor market is obvious, and that's a field where, of course, I agree with my colleague.
And specifically on how much money men or the second parent will receive in Austria, Lucas Mandel, they can apply to the state to receive €22.60 per day under the Austrian paternity leave, up to a maximum of €700 in total. Now, that obviously is some money, but it's really not a lot, is it?
That's not a huge amount of money, but it's only for the father's month, the aforementioned one. What's even as important, or even more important for all the families in Austria, is that if both the parents take leave to join the child, they can do it up to 2 years, and they can have money then of 80% of their income before the birth of the child. And that's even more important for daily life, for especially these first 2 years of a newborn child.
Ville Niinisto, you mentioned as well that there's an element of parental leave in Finland as well. An important distinction, of course, between parental leave that could be shared between both parents and paternity that's just for fathers. So on this issue of parental leave, do fathers take that up? Because obviously if it's optional, it's an option.
Yeah, obviously, since it's now a quota, so it's optional to take it, but you can't move it back to the mother, for example. So that has increased the use of parental leave a lot. So it used to be, when I was at parental leave, parents shared so that women used 93% of all parental leave related days. But now the amount of fathers using those has increased to somewhere around 20%. So it does have an effect. And I think it's a very positive effect that the society encourages, because in the long term it's positive also for the labor market. So even though the society and the state pays a vast majority of the costs, employers are also taking a small share there. In the long run, it's good because you increase the employment of both sexes in labor market, since both can work. And we try to also make it easier to do part-time jobs for parents as well. So you can choose to work part-time, so you can still have a shorter week and then spend 1 day a week with your child when the child grows. So you can have a flexible system that keeps you integrated in the labor market.
Lucas Mandel, coming back to you, I mentioned before this EU directive on paternal leave that came in 2019. It imposes a minimum of 10 days paternity leave. They can be taken in a non-continuous manner to allow more flexibility. And this is coming in around the continent. There's just, I think, 3 states left to introduce this. Austria did not have paternal leave specifically when this was introduced. Why did Austria go further than the 10 days? As you've mentioned, there are costs on the employers, and that was a big issue.
But it's, of course, worth it to invest at least this Father's Month. And it's also something that applies for the other member states of the European Union, as in other policy fields. The good examples of some member states will, on the long run, have effect on the other member states in order to put them in the position also to guarantee fathers at least 1 month of Father's Month, Father's Leave. And that's something we run for on European level, but it's on behalf of the member states. And once they see that it's good for both the children and the parents, and for the work obligation and family obligation adults may have, and they do actually, then also in other member states, this will work in the future, I guess, and that's what we work on in European Parliament, a vast number of us.
All right, well, we'll have to see where this story goes in the future, but I'd like to thank you both very much for taking part in this discussion, shedding some light on this issue of paternity leave. Lucas Mandel and Vila Niinisto, thanks very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, our pleasure.
And thanks to you for watching the programme. Hope to see you soon here on Talking Europe for more European news very soon.